reason I could afford this site because the flight path is Sky Harbor, as you'll be hearing from time to time. But the fact that other people are seeing value in this little neighborhood, I think is encouraging to me as an investor part. And I think it's because, Tempe's landlocked. It can't grow anymore. So all of this infill is starting to happen. And this is kind of maybe the end of the line for that to happen. We'll see what happens. I have a tremendous amount of respect for this little neighborhood, whether it changed or not. And so the last thing we need is more asphalt and more parking lot stripes. So picture this in about 5 years when these mesquites have grown tall enough to start touching each other. You're pulling into a park, you're pulling into a tree bosque. A beautiful thing as opposed to an asphalt parking. And the wall, this crazy masonry wall we built, hopefully it's obvious that it's screening the bumpers from the inside. But as we move indoors, you see but all the water that hits the roof drains towards the front edge of the building. There's a continuous gutter concealed around that bulkhead, behind the bulkhead. The water's channeled to this canopy and the canopy down there. And you can see the shape of the canopy, the folds of the canopy are designed to direct the water into the downspout, which we can come this way. Suggestive of what the job is. It's protection, it's shade, but it directs the rainwater in here, which goes into this catch basin, and then it travels to a 2,500 gallon underground because of the magic of rainwater. Simple as that. We use all of it from the lavatories, all of it's reclaimed. So why don't you follow me?
Now with the flattened thing that we call BNS.
But this folded ceiling, for example, there's nothing arbitrary about it. We were discussing the block wall outside, and it's very beautiful because of its there's so many perforations in it, but laterally it's unstable. So by putting the tube on top and compressing the masonry, we were able to structurally satisfy the lateral requirements and add the forks that brace the whole wall back to this column. So the bottom of these folds, that's actually a glulam beam that's framing into another glulam beam that runs down the center. You can see where the columns are. And then by framing in this direction and connecting the chevrons, which we call them, we get the beautiful folds that work as a daylighting diffuser and obviously as an electric lighting diffuser. And it's structural. 3 things, 1 design. Beautiful conference room with alcohol sitting on it. It's something because when you sit here, your relationship to the courtyard is changed. And typically the fountain's running, but I ruined the O-ring this weekend cleaning the filter basket, so hopefully that arrives this afternoon. And then, we've got the indirect north-facing glass wall here, but that indirect light is balanced by a direct light coming from the skylight. So, this wall just gets washed a little bit with natural lighting to sort of counterbalance the more light coming in from the north. You notice our video monitors. completely recessed behind the glass wall, so it wasn't good enough to just hang it on the wall like everybody else does. Even that had to be absorbed into the architecture. So our return air and electrical cabinet. And the ceiling is, those are, I think I counted, I think there's about 800 6-inch by 6-inch brass squares. They're actually left over from another job. But it allowed us to put in regular can light fixtures, ceiling diffusers, smoke detectors, speakers, all those things that typically clutter a ceiling and just compose the whole thing. And so when the air conditioning's on, you know where it's coming from because they flutter. Like artifact wall. The wall outside, this was the model. There's that dominoes, of course, and then a lot of these fragments come from very famous buildings, my heroes. This is from a Bruce Goff. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but we do have this really red carpet, but that's the only direct color. Everything else is colored light as opposed to paint. And the skylight down there has a yellow film on it that creates that. There's a fluorescent light tucked around the corner that's producing the green light. And the pink light above the mezzanine is a result of light reflecting off the red carpet up there. Now, I use a Vermeer painting, Johannes Vermeer, one of the great Renaissance painters, and he's painted in his studio, and all of the light's always coming from the left and just sort of washing the wall. And I tell people, especially the ones that are artists and they draw and they paint, I said, try to do that. It is one of the hardest things to represent is the diffusion of light on the wall. It's very hard. But and then I show a photograph of a European stairway where you see the stairs and you see this intense light at the top of the stairs, but you don't know what's up there. But the intensity of the light, you'll either know, well, that's another room, maybe it's private, but there's so much light, it must be an outdoor space. And so without any words, without any signage, you're compelled to go up there. And so, I start to see the value in all of that, the emotional value in it. And so, why not bring it in? I mean, that diffusion of pink is so much better than if I would have painted the same thing.
Yep.
This green is so much better than if I would have painted the wall. Right. So I'm learning, all the time I'm learning, and sometimes it fails, but I learn from that,
Right,
and then
right.
sometimes it's successful. I'm very happy with the results of this effort, and it was probably, I could write a book on how not to do your own building. Certainly how to behave when you want a building permit. You don't lose your temper. That cost me about 6 months. But, all in all, we're very happy to be here, move in here.
Mm-hmm.